not be any better. By the way, we just went live. Um,
Okay.
I actually got I got a message today. Uh, uh, I don't want to say what I got it from, but I got a message today from a um what do they call them? Talent something or other from Microsoft,
Okay.
who apparently saw my website and has been they reached out to me and they're like, we have yada 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 going on, and we're thinking you might be a good fit. And I saw it this morning before I went down to the wipe before my workout, and I got to be honest, I got really excited over the whole thing. Right? It's like, fuck, this is Microsoft. Uh, so we'll see where it goes, but it was a great way to start the morning. I can tell you that.
Yeah, that's great news. That's a good start. See,
It is.
how you start hitting these technologies, and all of a sudden
You know,
people are going to start calling.
just throw it out there, show people what you can do. You don't have to be the best of what you have or what it is. Just show people what you can do, and you don't know what's going to happen, right?
That's right.
You never know. You might
Yep.
fill a void. You might get a foot in the door. You might get people who are interested in what you're thinking and how you do things, and funny things happen. But even if it doesn't go anywhere, the fact that somebody from Microsoft was interested in what I was doing, I got to be honest, Master Grant, that it kind of made my day.
Well, I know it's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, it really is. Uh, I don't
Yeah,
have
that
any.
was. I tell you, that's how it starts. That's exactly how it starts. So the more you do, right, learning and education and building your skill sets, and the more attractive you'll be. Not that you're very attractive right now. Not saying
See,
that you aren't,
see, you're the
but
best.
more attractive.
You're the best. This is why I train under you right here. This is why. Uh, but it was very. I'm not. Obviously I'm not reading anything into it, but it was very nice to see. Right, it
Mm-hmm.
was. So who the hell knows? We'll see where it goes from there. But uh, it was nice. Uh,
Good.
you and I have not had a chance to talk, unfortunately. Uh, just because. Um, but I don't know if you saw in our group, in our Discord group, some of the things that were posted. But apparently, according to Yahoo and a bunch of other sources, the only people who are going to the hospital, or I should say, like the COVID deaths, uh, are among those who are unvaccinated. According to the AP, nearly all COVID-19 deaths in the U.S. are now in people who weren't vaccinated, a staggering demonstration of how effective shots have been, and an indication that deaths per day, which is really important, deaths per day, now down to under 300, could be practically zero if everyone eligible got the vaccine. And at this point, the only people who aren't eligible are what? Toddlers, right?
Yeah.
An AP analysis of available government data from May shows that a quote breakthrough infections in fully vaccinated people accounted for fewer than 1,200 of more than the 853,000 COVID-19 hospitalizations. That's about 0.1%. Basically, your chances of getting of getting the virus or going to the hospital is 0.1%.
Shiloh,
0.1. Uh, I want, and the point is, I want to emphasize that it's not 1%, it's 0.1%. So there are a number of people who are getting hospitalized who have been vaccinated, but that number is so incredibly small that it's almost ridiculous to even talk about 0.1%, right? So we're less than, well, it's 0.1%. The odds of you getting this vaccine, or I'm sorry, coming down with this, even with all the different variants that are going on, even with all the different the way this thing has mutated, the idea that you still have a 0.1% chance of getting it if you've been vaccinated, like you and I have both been, that's extraordinary. And it kills me that there are still people at this point who are willing to take that chance, because according to this AP article, and it's been around all over the place, right? The only people who are coming down with symptoms now, the only people who are getting hospitalized now, are the people who didn't get the shots, who didn't get the vaccine. I want to hear your reaction to that, and then I want to elaborate on it a little bit. But let's start with that. So go ahead.
You know, first of all, it's just the data just is common sense. I mean, you don't. So it's common sense that the people who are not vaccinated are the ones getting sick. There's a Delta variant now that's out that's even more contagious and actually more trouble than the other one, and it's highly contagious, and so it makes sense that if you're not vaccinated, your odds now are you're probably going to get sick, even if you were sick once already. You may get sick again. I mean, it's yeah, and people who don't want to get vaccinated, that's their right. That's their right. They don't have to. But at the same time, they got to know the risks, right? There's consequences of your actions, and so consequences is that you could get very sick and you go to the hospital, and you could potentially die. That's what I think. I just hope that information, the people weigh that seriously enough when they make their decision that they're not going to get vaccinated. Well, okay, you're also putting your other people in harm's way because you get sick and you give it to others, so you're part of the contagious problem. But I know I've know people who are just hardcore dead set against it, and well, they've got their reasons. I don't know if we'll be able to convince them, but it's something we can't make it mandatory.
No.
If we lived in North Korea, we could, but
I have family members who have been hospitalized because they refuse to get vaccinated, even though they've been able to get their parents vaccinated. Now, this is back whenever it wasn't as widely available, okay, and still refused to get the vaccine. And I get to the point where, and I don't want to sound like a dick, but at this point here today, right, June 24th, 2021, You know what's going on and you know what's happening, and yet you still refuse to get a vaccine. Right at this point, it's available to everybody. You shouldn't have a hard time getting an appointment to get the vaccine. Yeah, and yes, it's 2 shots, and yeah, it's a bit of a pain in the ass, but it's there, and you can get it, and it's available, and you know what's going to happen if you don't get it, and yet you still refuse to. Master Grant, I got to be honest with you. It's very, very difficult for me to start feeling any kind of sympathy or empathy for people who just, at this point, out and out refuse to protect themselves and their families.
Give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
I'll be right here. And he left me. Do you believe that? I mean, we were in some pretty deep shit, and he left. Well, that's the way it is. Whenever you have your instructor as part of your show. Lou, unfortunately, I just got the message from him. Lou is not going to be able to make it. He's a bit tied up. Master Grant, it's you and me tonight. Lou's not going to be able to make it. I just got a message from him.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask you why. What do your family members say why they're not going to get vaccinated?
Well, I'll be honest. It is not that I have a big family. You know my story, right? I don't have a very big family here. The family members who are questioning things, who refuse to get it, are they're MAGAs.
So what is it about MAGA that brings about this thinking?
They just buy into the bullshit that this whole thing is a hoax, that it'll go away. You remember the whole thing, it'll go away by Easter. What was that, 2 fucking years ago? It'll go away by Easter. They're just buying all the bullshit. And they're buying it so much that they're dying over it. I have a family member right now who has liquid or around his heart, who a few weeks back was hospitalized for COVID. That's not a coincidence. If you follow, if you see what could happen to you.
Yeah, this disease it's no joke.
No.
Right? And who cares if it was created in a laboratory in China, or if it was spread by bats, or if it was whatever. The fact is, it's out there, right? When you get it, I still have, if I start to laugh hard, if I start to laugh, actually don't even have to, if I start to laugh, I start to cough.
Mm-hmm.
That's from the COVID. And I don't think that's ever going to go away. I think my lungs were damaged to some degree.
Very well could be.
This is a serious disease that it's just like the consumption that was back in the 1800s. We call it tuberculosis, but it was called consumption because what it did, you would start to cough like that, just a little bit here and there.
Mm-hmm.
It would just eat your lungs until you just couldn't breathe anymore. It was horrible death.
Yeah, terrible.
And they called it consumption because it would consume your body. And this is where these viruses attack, and that's a weak point for a human being. And so, it's just, I don't know. I just wish that people would take it seriously. If you've got some very strong religious grounds, it's a Christian Science. If you've got some strong religious grounds that you say, look, we don't do medicine. Okay. That's your faith. But really, because of, it's because President Trump didn't get, or the election was totally, are you're really believing that BS? You know, you're like falling into this trap of Hannity and Carson Tucker and Tucker, or whatever his name is. You know, you fall into that trap of this political rhetoric, which means nothing. Yeah.
And you know that's kind of the crux of the argument, right? Uh, I want to guess, and I don't know, but I want to believe that there were people uh, during the Spanish flu ordeal, which led to the Roaring Twenties, that kind of downplayed the whole thing. It didn't actually believe a lot of what was being said. But at the same time, we're pragmatic enough to start taking some precautions. And the fact of the matter is, as long as the Spanish flu went, we kind of kicked it in the ass, right? Because people were a little more aware. And like I said, even if they didn't buy into the whole thing, they still kind of did enough, as half-assed as some of these folks were, to get to a point where we got past it. Now, with the advent of Fox Entertainment and Breitbart and OEM and some of these other places that just play on your emotions and not in your logic, we're starting to see a very distinct separation between the people who have been vaccinated and the people who have yet to who refuse at this point to get vaccinated. And I work with people who refuse to get vaccinated, right? I have family members. I have a family member, like I said, right now, who was in the ER a couple days ago with fluid around his heart. I guess my biggest question and my biggest concern is, how can somebody be so entrenched in this thought pattern or this ideal that they don't see what's happening right in front of them? They don't get that, look, if you don't get this vaccination, there's a good chance you're going to die. Okay, now it's not 100%, but Master Grant, if I have a 30% chance of dying, 30%, 3 out of 10, I ain't taking that chance. You know? You know what I'm saying? Call me crazy. 20%. I still don't want to take that chance. Because there's still a chance I'm going to roll snake eyes and I'm dead. I don't understand the logic. I just don't.
No, I don't either. And you know, it's just amazing how, like, even today, apparently there's a video going around that Trump has been re-inaugurated. He's back in the office. And people are believing it. I mean, you know, I feel, and I'm very unfortunately feeling this, that this propaganda has so brainwashed good people that there very well could be a division in this country, because this I'm right, you're wrong, you know, it is just so it's so stressed so strongly. And when Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity go, this is the most important election since the Civil War. There will be a civil war if we don't win. When these guys are saying stuff like this, you know, again, they're out for ratings. People don't get it. They believe it. They're hook, line, sinker, sucked into it. And then when they say that, then when you get preachers up in the pulpit saying, if you're, if you are a Christian, you got to be Republican. You can't be you call them Democrats. Now when your preachers are saying this garbage, and these are, remember, most people are I wouldn't say simple-minded, but they're just not highly educated. And in fact, elitism is, if you're intellectual in any way, you're an elitist snob. So it's actually like, yeah, if you're smart, you're bad.
I I don't understand the logic behind well, there isn't any logic, right? If you watch Fox News or Fox Entertainment, as I like to call it, for 2 minutes, you're gonna understand there's no logic involved in this. They're playing on your emotions, okay? And whenever I get to play on your emotions, I can start manipulating them in a way that's not beneficial to you, but it's very, 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 very beneficial to me. I sometimes wonder, and I'm all about having different opinions and different views on subjects, right? I am, and I've told anybody who's ever listened to me for longer than 5 minutes that the last thing I want is for everybody in the world to think the way I do. I don't want anybody justifying my views, and I don't want a whole lot of people agreeing with my views because I constantly want to be challenged. Okay, and I use my religion as a barometer, right? I constantly want to be challenged as to why I believe what I believe and why I feel how I feel and why I subscribe to the religion that I subscribe to. You and I are both Roman Catholic, right? And so I want people from other denominations and maybe even other religions altogether to question me about why we do what we do, why we, the doctrines of our church. But at the same time, I'm looking at people who are seeing people around them dying. We only have one shot at this. Who are dying far too young. And they're looking at each other and they're constantly making excuses for their decisions. And I wonder what happened. What is it about you? He left. He just left. All right. Oh no, he's back. Okay. Okay, he's back.
I got up to what happened, and I lost you.
I wonder what happened to people who sat there and said, this is the truth. This is what I'm saying. This is the things that are actually happening. And yet these are the things that somebody else is reinforcing that I believe in. And yet these things don't jive. And
So
no one sat there and said, you know what, maybe my views are a little skewed.
Yeah. So let me ask you something. Okay. When I say, when I mention the religion of Islam, what comes into your mind? What would I say you should investigate the religion of Islam and consider being a Muslim? What comes into your mind? Just speak truthfully.
I honestly, I don't know. I mean, I sit there and I say, oh, I guess my question is, okay, why are you telling me this? What is it about?
Because I want to hear what your initial gut reaction is to the religion and and then just be honest. What do you feel? Would you ever consider it for yourself?
Would I ever consider myself changing religions to Islam? Um,
Okay, so
no,
what I'm trying to get at,
no,
what I'm trying to
no,
get,
I wouldn't. I wouldn't. But however, no, I mean, I'll just stop it there. No, I wouldn't. No,
now is it part of it partly because of all the negativity that you hear about it?
no. For me, no.
Yeah, okay.
Uh, I can understand how people would have a response to the negativity that they hear about it, but for me, no.
Okay.
Um,
No, well, because
as
you're
much as I disagree with my religion, I have no chance. I have no intention of changing.
so the reason I'm bringing this up is because I wanted to point out how our because we live in a Christian society and because we live in a Western society, our entire view of the religion of Islam is completely jaded by those two factors,
Yes.
right? And so, you know, all we ever hear is, you know, fear and terror, and um, they're out to kill you, and they,
Yeah.
you know, and then we don't hear anything at all good. Now, you're an exception, of course, because you're a very thoughtful person. Um, so, but most people would just say that no, I would never. Oh, that's a religion of the devil, or you know, it's you know, they're going to go and cut your hand off or fingers off, or what, cut your head off, or you know what, and we don't really hear a, a, a fair assessment of it. It's not taught in schools.
No.
Um, and it certainly is not taught off the pulpit.
Oh God, no, no.
And so, you know, it's like, but then, and it really, like, uh, for me, it's just like if you go and listen to Rush Limbaugh, he's dead, thank goodness. But if had you went and listened to Rush Limbaugh for a week, at the end of that week, you would be feeling differently, right?
Oh
You
sure,
would
absolutely.
have different feelings. And if you, the same thing with Islam, if you spend a week with a true Islamic imam preacher, at the end of that week, you would be your feelings on Islam would be completely different from what they are,
Oh sure.
because well, Rush Limbaugh guided people in the wrong way. A preacher of a religion, be it Islam, be it Sikh, be it Buddhism, you know, they will guide you in the right way, right? They will
Right.
teach you the truth about what they believe, and all, and you'll feel like holy crap, everything everything I ever knew about you guys was a bunch of
Right.
hogwash,
And
and then you start to see that how pervasive this media, this messaging is, and so you know, and it's the same could be true. The same is true for politics, and even on a bigger scale, because unlike religion, which is something that's extremely deep and personal to each individual, you know, politics, they're actually out to convert you. They're actually out to change you. They want you. The Republicans want you on their side, right?
right. Sure they do.
The Democrats, Lord knows what they want.
Yeah, they don't even know.
so, so you know, and Republicans, this isn't about really. This is politics. So they are just a lot more avant-garde with how they're going to attack and come at. And anyway, that whole point I was trying to make there was, you know, when you're able to be with someone who speaks truth, who speaks honest and open, you'll get a completely different
Oh sure.
understanding of something. And
Absolutely.
so, if you were with a Republican who was, you know, blue, well, red, they're red, you know, just a true believer Republican, true Republican, you know, um, they would definitely give you something that's a lot different from the crap that you're hearing on the radio and the news. Same thing with the Democrats. You know, it's like we villainize AOC, or not say we, Fox News does, the right wing media does. They villainize her, right? But if you go and you actually just mean, first of all, you have to have an open mind. You can't go being but if you go with an open mind and an open heart and just say, I'm going to listen, well, you're going to be able to see, oh, yeah, she has some good points.
Oh, I've always said, with as much damage as she has done to the Democratic Party, and I firmly believe she has done some damage to it. She's been legit and she's been honest. And maybe the damage she's done isn't necessarily a bad thing. Right? But you make some good points. My biggest problem, and I've always said, with the Democratic, well, with the parties, and you and I have sat here and we've said how many times that the fact that we have two parties is what's killing us, right? More than anything else, the fact that we have two parties is killing us. We should have 10 or 20 or 30 or 50. Pick a number. I don't give a shit what number it is. Pick one. Because that's the only way you get a more true representation of our country. We have a melting pot. Okay, it's not like England or any place else in the world. We have a melting pot. And all views and all opinions need to be represented, and ideally should be represented equally. Because that's the only way we're going to make our way through this whole thing. But when we only have two, and we're either a Democrat or a Republican, or, in our case, an independent, where we have very liberal views and liberal leanings in a lot of cases, that doesn't make us Democrats. That just makes us very liberal in how we view things. However, in a lot of cases, we're also very conservative, right? With the structure the way it is right now, we are not truly represented. Okay, we're not. We have to pick a category, and so we choose the one that best represents us, but not the one that truly represents us. And I think that's a problem. And I think that's a shortcoming of this idea of you're either a Democrat or a Republican. You're either a liberal or conservative. And there's nothing in between. And I think that that handcuffs us quite a bit. Well, I think you and I are extremely liberal in a lot of views. When it comes to very specific views, we're rather conservative, right? And yet we have to kind of choose which one is the one that best represents us, but not the one that truly represents us. And I think that is a huge, huge problem. And I think that as generations come and go, that chasm is going to show its face a lot more than a lot of people are willing to realize, or willing to admit, I should say, not realize, but admit.
Yeah. So again, this all started with radio talk show hosts trying to gain audience. You do high school debate club 101. Me good, you bad.
Right.
Me safe, you danger. That's what the Limbaughs, and they all played that masterfully. That's why we have your liberal or your conservative. Conservative good, liberal bad. Right? And people just get sucked into that because it's easy. It's easy thinking. No challenge.
No. And the best part is I get to dictate, right? I get to determine what is liberal, what is conservative.
That's right.
Or pick any label you want, but I get to make that determination, not you, but me. That's a hell of an advantage, right? That's
Well, again, these are talk show hosts. They want every advantage they can get, right? Because it's that for them, it's about winning. It's getting people on the air, making them look stupid, making you look like you're the good guy, the tough guy, the American guy. I mean, geez, Rush, he got a Medal of Freedom for crying out loud.
which, let's face it, he didn't deserve.
No,
He didn't. My opinion is he's done far more harm to this country than good. Okay.
yeah,
And I don't say that because he's a conservative and I'm a liberal. I look at somebody like George Will, who I think has done far more good than bad, and he's as conservative can be. Right? But if you're going to compare and contrast him and Limbaugh, it's not a contest. Sorry, it's not. And he was in the media. He made his bones. He earned his bones in public discord, just like Limbaugh did. Right? But when you sit there and you listen to what this guy says, you probably, if you're, especially if you're on our side, don't agree with him at all. But you look at him and you say, you know what? There's some legitimacy there. And there's a debate that we can have. And something positive is going to come from this debate. Where you look at that same dynamic, only move George Will out of the equation and put Rush Limbaugh in there. And there's no positive that comes out of anything.
Right.
It doesn't. There's no positivity that can be achieved.
Mm-mm.
And I wonder if that's a flaw with the two-party system or just how we subscribe to things. What do you think?
I think there's a big mixture there. I think the two-party system allowed that type of rhetoric to happen, us versus them. Had we had 4 or 5 parties, that couldn't have worked,
Right?
As well.
I agree.
I think it's also a reflection on when CNN and the global, the cable news networks came out, and they weren't beholden to anything. Watch some of the old journalist shows. They were very strict. Journalism was journalism, right?
Right.
It wasn't who, what, where, and what's your opinion on it.
There was it was local to Chicago at the time. It was a show, and I'm sure we've all had them. At Master Grant, you could probably rattle off, 2 or 3 that were equal to it. That was called Point and Counterpoint.
Yeah, I remember.
Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you were lucky, you caught. I think it was on PBS. And if you were lucky, every now and then you would catch a show, right? And things were very black and white then. You could tell whenever somebody was doing a counterpoint just to be the counterpoint from the point, right? It was very obvious. But the point was there was an equality that was there that we don't get on one network anymore. And I don't know what, like I said, I want to say it was PBS, where you could have a point and a counterpoint. And my feeling is most people kind of fell in that gray area where, yeah, it's like, I agree with you, but I also kind of agree with you on this subject. And on the other subject, it's like, I don't agree with you, but I kind of agree with you. And then we go on to the next subject where it's like, okay, now I agree with you, but yeah, no, I don't agree with you. And it just went down the line, right? And to this day, I think that if people are being very honest, that's where they are. However, we don't have the opportunity to do that. So we have to fall into two different camps.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not exactly sure that's such a positive thing.
No, it really isn't. It really isn't. It's like, don't, you can't label me. I mean, uh, I've got some very socialist views, and I have some very conservative views.
Right.
Um, so like, what am I? So I'm neither, right? I believe in government healthcare. I
Mm-hmm.
believe in government education, universal education, universal healthcare. Those are all
Mm-hmm.
socialist ideas.
Yep.
But on the fiscal side, I want to get rid of the Senate to save money. I mean, I'm as conservative. I'm more conservative. I throw auditors all over that Capitol and get rid of every single, overdrawn bank. All these things that these congressmen and senators have gone. You
Right.
know, um, so you wouldn't find anybody as crazy conservative as I am fiscal side. And there's other things as well that other views that I have that are over here. It sounds like my ideology. um, but yeah, it's the it's that. But being able to label again, like it kind of goes back to you can't really put a label on me, right? So, but what if you could? If you just said, "Oh, you're a socialist," you're labeled. Boom, you're bad. Socialism, bad, right? We destroy the country. Um, going to take all the rich people's money, all the hardworking, wealthy people's money, and just give it to me to give it to deadbeats. All that ridiculous garbage that's out there, and yet it's just like the points that I was making back with the religion and sitting with somebody for. If you really sat down and understood socialism, you may not agree with everything, but you're also going to say, oh, this really isn't the evil empire that I've been led to believe it to be.
I don't understand this idea that we have to agree with everything, though. I guess that's the part that really kind of throws me off the deep end is why is it so necessary that I agree with you? Why is it not enough that I respect your opinion even though I don't agree with it enough? I don't, like I said earlier, I don't want people to agree with me. If I did, holy shit, if everybody I knew agreed with my views, holy shit. Dude, that's terrible. That's absolutely terrible. I'm not challenged. I'm just being reinforced in what I believe. And I can never grow that way. Right? I'm now stuck. I'm now stagnant because there's nothing that makes me challenge what I believe. Whenever my wife was Methodist at one point, okay, and she converted to Catholicism. And whenever she was going to the classes to convert over, Father John told the class, and there was probably 30 people in this class. He said, and I remember clearly because I saw what a contrast. He said, don't ever take what your religion tells you as the be all and end all. Always challenge what you believe. Always challenge what you're taught. Always challenge what the church is telling you, because that's the only way you're ever going to truly understand your religion. And I sat there and I said, this guy's brilliant. This guy's absolutely brilliant. Don't ever be the person who says yes because somebody told you to say yes. Challenge why they're telling you to say yes. And make sure that their argument is stronger than your challenge. And if it's not, well, you got some exploring to do. But if it is, then you're on the right path. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. And this was a priest telling her that.
I was just going to say, are you sure you're in a Catholic church?
Right? Oh, this guy, Master Grant, I could tell you stories about this guy. That would. I don't want to do it here. I really don't. But I've been there because I was a Eucharistic minister, so I was always in a lot of backroom, quote unquote, backroom discussions, and the things that I actually heard him getting into shouting, screaming matches with the Pittsburgh diocese over things. I mean, yelling at each other. This guy was one in a million. But he told everybody, these are people that were converting. Don't ever say yes because somebody told you to say yes. Always question why they're telling you to say yes. Because that's the only way you're truly going to understand your religion. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was the most brilliant thing I've ever heard in my life.
And here's the thing, like, when you shouldn't expect people to agree with what you say or believe what you say.
I never want to.
But they should have the decency to listen to you and think about what you're saying.
Right.
They may come to believe in what you say, or they may have already been on the fence and maybe got pushed over to it by your argument or what you're saying. Yep. Those things happen. But if you're coming from a completely different, so if you're a MAGA person and if you were on this show right now, you'd be so pissed off and you'd be yelling and screaming anti-Americans and go live in wherever, don't like this country, get out, we don't want you anyway, because we're here having a discussion. And I would give that person his or her chance to speak whatever the truths they believe in, right? And I'm, if we're in a talk show like this, then I'm going to give my counterpoint to it. And I would expect them, but I wouldn't do it like, if, of course, we make a lot of jokes, right? But between ourselves, we're all on the same wavelength. But let's just say we had a true person who was here who was right leaning and MAGA. I wouldn't be facetious. I wouldn't be antagonistic. But I would point out discrepancies or what I consider fallacies, or if it's just a different point of view.
Well, we always want to challenge each other and ourselves.
They want to build a wall. Okay, why?
Why?
What's you think the money is well spent doing that? How much money is it going to be? Yeah, questioning. Right. And then just like when I say things like, "Oh, I want." I believe that we should have universal health care. They can ask me why. How are you going to pay for it? Right? And that's good. We're challenging each other. Right? It's supposed to be back and forth and talking and communicating. One of the things that I really wanted to say tonight on the show, which was really, of all the news today, what really made me happy was that Biden came out and said we've come to an agreement. Because for me, it wasn't about the details of the agreement. It was that the Republicans have broken this. We're not doing it. We hate you. Mitch McConnell. They've broken that thing and they actually got to the table and they hammered it out. It was give and take. It was, okay, we don't want this, but if you do that, back and forth. That's what it's supposed to be, right? Yeah. That's how it's supposed to operate. And I give credit to Joe Biden because he was in politics long enough to know that's the only way anything ever gets done. Otherwise, it's just constant stalemate. And why the heck are why are we even electing these idiots then? If nothing's going to happen, why are we paying them if they're just going to say Mitch McConnell said no, so I got to say no?
Yeah, I always said, I don't care what party it came from. I truly don't. I could give a shit less. But good policy survives the test of time. Right? And at the end of the day, if your bridges stay up, if your roads are good, if you have a decent wage, if you got just go on down the line. If you benefit from it, or if we as a society benefit from it, Social Security is a great example. Do you really give a shit which party started this whole thing? Do you really care?
No.
It's a universal plus for everybody involved, everybody in the country. Who cares if it was a Democrat who started it or a Republican who started it? Who cares? Because I promise you, right now, very, very, very few people can tell you who originated it. You know why? Because nobody cares.
Right.
It's a good, solid program that's benefited literally everybody in the country. So who cares where it started from?
Yeah, I know. Donald Trump did some good stuff.
He did a few good things. Yeah.
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 And so it's like you gotta. Here's what I want to say. If you really want to take a look at a class act, go back and watch the Reagan-Carter debate, and you'll see some class gentlemen there. Different viewpoint, but they let each other talk, and it was compared to the stuff we get now.
Yeah.
That to me was, and again, it doesn't matter which side you're on, who you thought was right, who you thought was wrong. Just look at the way those two men handled themselves, with etiquette, with decency, with
and you know what you saw? You saw the integrity of each person.
Yeah.
Right. Whether you agreed with them or not, you saw their integrity.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
That's it.
Not like the debates now where they're just talking over each other, calling each other idiots, and
right.
Who could get the quickest.
Who can get the 5-second soundbite that they can put on whatever network.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's terrible. It's terrible. You know what, sir? That's a great place to end this tonight.
I didn't get my 5-second soundbite though.
Well, yeah, but I didn't either.
I need my 5-second soundbite.
Well, okay, go ahead, do something.
I'll take my 5-second soundbite from me. And there it is, my 5-second soundbite.
There it is.
Don't take my soundbite from me.
Everybody, we will be back tomorrow for Friday to finish out the week. Same bad time, same bad channel. Hopefully you guys had a great week. Hopefully you have a great weekend. But we will be back tomorrow. Lou will probably be with us tomorrow, so it'll be 3 of us. If not,
well, I know why he didn't show up today.
He's still hungover from his time out on the beach.
Well, that, and he's scared. He doesn't want to face me. He doesn't want to face me because he knows. He knows.
Yeah.
2 hours away. Simple, easy drive. Could come on down.
He could have. You know what? He doesn't have that excuse tomorrow, though. If I were you, yeah, I'd kind of give him hell. I'd give him a lot of hell. Okay, sir. We will talk to everybody tomorrow. Until then, like we like to say, goodbye, good luck, and God bless. We'll see everybody tomorrow.